Hi everyone, so this is adding security on your backend for my ComSci 100 students. So where did we left off the last time? For this one, we have already created a backend that is um, supposed to be, here you are, that's supposed to be 880. So there, we check our created backend, we are able to um, let's say title one, uh, text one. So I've already done some things here, so you might see something that are different later on, especially when we get the data. So let's try getting the data. We get some of the things here, as well as get if we get a blog. So we just get the ID, and we get that particular ID. If we get this one, we also get it here, as well as if we want to update that I thing, let's say new title one and new text one, execute it, it becomes updated. So if we execute this again, which is getting the blog, we'll get the new blog data. And of course, if we delete it, it will be deleted. So for now, we can delete it one by one. So if we delete it one by one, so let's just close these things first. Does not to be too makalat in essence. So let's just delete. So that's one. That's deleted one. We copy this. Delete another. Copy this. Delete. And see if we try to get it, only the 016 will well, not really remain, because we don't know how many will remain, but yeah, the 016 will be the first. So let's try deleting everything in the database if we can. So okay, and last is this one, and maybe this one as well. Let's see if there are things that is remaining. Yep, there are a lot of things that I created while testing this part. So let's go. Okay, so there are three more. If we delete them all, the success true, we just execute it and will not return any more of the date of any blogs that were created. So if we execute this, it will say success true, but it should supposed to be that it should not show up anything like this one. It will say that it's 404 now, not found. But regardless of that, we'll do our next part. So what needs to be done now? We'll need to add dates on the blog so that we can sort. So how do we add dates on our blog? So we go to the utils, we update our model. Um, yeah, we update our model, and then in essence, what we want to do is to say that we add this. So there's a part in Mongoose where we can add pre, save, and a sync function. Now for this one, we will tell that instead of string, we just have more attributes to it. Type, this is required. That means we don't want the title to be null. And this one is required as well. We don't want our string to be null. Now, what we want is create date, type number, which is also required. And then update date, which is type number, which is also required. Now, what is the idea for this one? What we want to do is we don't want to put it on post where we will have to add the edit um, in the services. So when instead of putting it here where create date is equals to new date and so on and so forth, what we want to do is automatically every time you want to save, you update the create date. Well, so let's have const date or today equals to new date. And I put in here a number. The reason is it's better for us to put it a number because it will become in milliseconds starting from January 1, 1970. So that's the UTC time. So that would be, to get that, we just get time. So as you can see, gets the time value in milliseconds. So if we check Mozilla date get time, just to the prototype for that, JavaScript uses milliseconds as a unit of measure, whereas Unix time is in seconds. So get time returns the milliseconds since the Unix epoch. So what's the Unix epoch? It's the also known as the epoch time, is a system for describing a point in time. It is the number of seconds that have elapsed since Unix epoch. So Unix epoch, it's an arbitrary date. It started on January 1, UTC 12 midnight 1970. So given that we just want to get this, we'll know that it's always going upward. So this dot update date is equals to day dot get time. Now just for measure, we also want to have it in such a way that when we update one, am I doing it correctly? Let me check. Yeah, update one. So when we update a particular blog data, what we want to do is this dot update date is equals to new date dot get time. So there you have it. Once that is done, we just uh, brief what we want to do is to show it on our object. So given this, um, we want to show it on before doing that, what I want to do is on this part, the components, I want to create a components folder. So what I want to do is to make sure that I want to use reusable components for this one. So let's see. So instead of having this, we will import components from index.js, and we just put it here. There you go. Now that is done, we'll get to know, what we want to do is to, in the paths, as you can see, if we get to the post, we will be editing this part, the return data, most of the time. So we don't want to like go to the post and go to get and edit the return data set. So what we want to do is go to open API 3.1, check the specification because we're using that specification. Then from here and out, we go to schema. We see that there's a components object. In the components object, we'll see that there are schemas, responses, parameters, request bodies, header, security. We just want to set up the schemas. So let's set it up here. Schemas. Once that is done, we get check the schema object. So an example of that is um, so this is how it should look like. Schemas general error. So what we'll need to do is we just say blog data, and then we copy the post one here, which is a type object. There you go, type object properties. And then from here on out, we add create date, which is a type of string, and update date, which is a type of no, not string, sorry, it's a number. Now how do we reuse it on our um, part here? So by reusing it, we just add, as you can see, go back to the schema object, and then we just say $ref, the component schemas address. So in essence, it's $ref, $ref, um, components schemas. Then we check what schema it is. It's blog data. It's named blog data, and we just do it here. So wait, my yeah. It says oh, okay. So uh I'm doing it correctly. Yep. So there's the schemas, the blog data. Um, schema. I should put it here. There you go. That's more correct. So we just do this. Copy this one. Go for get, and because it's an array, the item is of this reference. So let's see if it's compiled. Okay, that's correct. We get to delete it as well. Um, so this one, as well as put. If we check our Swagger now, our Swagger UI, so we um, see that it's already updated here. If we check our blog, we'll see also that it's also being updated. So if we create one out, so title one and text one and execute it. Oops, something went wrong. Oh, okay, because we have put required, so don't need required now because it's being checked that it should show up first. Anyway, execute it. It will now show up here. This create date and update date. Create date. It should create date, update date. Why didn't it show up? Let me check. So try it out, execute. Yeah, there's the create date and update date. It just didn't show up on the post. Create date and update date. Let's see on the post. Ah, because we didn't put it here. So we just need to add create date and update date. Actually, let's try returning blog instead. So if we try another one, so we're returning the whole data object itself, and it returns the whole data. So we don't need to like do this, and we just need to add this one out. So yeah, um, now that we have that, let's check it out on our. We can see that two, which is the later one part, is done is shown at the end of the array. What we want to do is to make sure that the timeline based on create date is sorted in decreasing order. So how do we do that? We go to get many blog. We just put sort, and then on the we have two arrays. We put first create date and -1. So if we do that, we execute this, you can see that it has been sorted already. So that is how we do the sorting part. So let's split the terminal so that we can git add all git commit git add sort date on blog. So git push. After that, what's the next? Now add a design for create user object. So let's add that part one. So we'll add security now. So before we add security, we need to have some sort of person to um to do the authentication or like a username. So we'll just create user, and then from here and out we just actually copy post. So by adding a post, there's the post. We just add also the index for this one for the user folder, and actually just copy this on the user index.js. You don't need get because you don't need it as of the moment. We add the user, and then from here on out we decide that this is a post for creating a a new user. So create user. We add it on the tag for user, and then we just need username and password. Now for this one, we just want to say that's it. It's a type object, and the um, properties is just the username. We don't want to return the password as well for this one because that would be a security problem. So creates a new user. So there you go. We just add it here. Um, user user, and let's see if the autocomplete works. Doesn't work. So import user from user index.js. Okay. Now that we have that, we can see it on our. Let me check. We should be able to see it on our part here. We can add the user. If we try it out now, it will say that there's an internal server error because the operation create user is not yet implemented. So that means we'll need to create a user. So user, we'll just copy the create log for now. This one. And then we just say create user. And then we get the username and password. But we don't have a way to save it on our database because we're using blog and we need the user model, but we haven't done it yet. So we just change this here, and then user, save user, return user. So how do we do that? We create a new model called user. So we copy the whole thing, rename it as user.js, then just have it as um, username and password. And what we want to do is for username, we want it unique as well, but it's not going to be our ID. We're still going to use the ID for a default ID mechanism for from um, from MongoDB. We just change this. Actually, we just change this to schema just for just for because we just use it here. Um, Now we want to have create date and update date because just for the whole thing. But we also don't want to add like the string as a password as is in the database. We want to secure it so that in such cases that the password or the database is compromised and they are able to get the passwords, it's all encrypted. So we will install npm I save bcrypt. So bcrypt, just for those who are new, bcrypt is actually a library for helping to hash your password. Um, so once that is npm audit fix force just to remove that vulnerability. So we import bcrypt from the script. Once that is done, what we want to do is this password will be await decrypt um, the hash this password and the salt rounds, which is currently we put it on 10. We also copy this on update 1 just in case that if they update the password. Okay, so given this, we have a user. We have to add it on our Mong, uh, MongoDB list of models. So user is this one, and we just do models dot user is equals to create user model and pass the um, mongoose object for instance. Now that we have that, we just add this to our list. Import create user. Oops, oops, create user equals to create user. That is that. Let's see if we create, let's say, TJ Montserrat. That's my name. And testing 123, which is not a good password, but for now, I'm just going to use it. If we execute it, it will just return TJ Montserrat. But the password is saved as a unique. We can actually see what will be or how it will look like on the database. Okay, so let's just log in. So browse collection. If we look at the collection, we can check for users. Well, I've already added something here before, so let's just delete it. But you can see the password is not testing123, but it's a hash of that. So there you go. I'm going to discard this for now so that we'll add it later. Okay. So now that we have that, let's go add git add all, git commit, feed add create user. Now, given that, what is next? Add the functionality for create user object. We already have that. Add a design for login and log out. So we'll create that one. Given that, we'll just have a auth for authentication, and we have login. As you can hear, it's already 10 a.m. Wait, one. Okay, so for this one, we want to add for login because we're sending data to the user. We will add post. So we'll have we'll have okay. So my family is here, so you'll be hearing them out on the background, so I apologize for that. But excuse me, we'll use a post method for login. So log in a user and we put it on auth login. Oh, sorry, login small letters, and then we just say the request is the same username and password, and the properties would be success is type boolean. That means the operation has been successful, and we want to return a token, which is a string. The token will be used later for authentication purposes, meaning if you are authorized to call in a URL. Now for this one, we want to use get for log out. So for log out, we want to log out a user, and that means for this one we use the log out operation ID. We put it on auth. There's no parameters needed. Just send the log out, and the type is an object with a property of um, success type boolean. So that is done. Um, so we just do the index and then copy here. Now we want to have an auth login, which comes from login, and we want to have an auth logout, which is a get method, which is import get from logout index.js. Now you might ask, how do the system know that a user will be logging out? Like this user is logging out and not another user. We'll do that later. Um, Logging out a user. There you go. We'll just log in a user. Okay. So now that is done, if we check our Swagger, we'll have, oops, it's not yet added. So we add it here. Um, Import auth login, auth logout. So what we want to do is use auth login to do our auth login and auth slash logout to do our auth logout. So given that, again, so that there's an auth, try it out. Well, of course, it will have an internal error because we haven't, the operation create user is not yet implement. Nope, no, not that one. Sorry. The operation for login is not yet implemented. So that will be our next step. Um, well, not really. Functionality for login. We also add a design for security schemes. So we'll add the security schemes first. Uh, so for the security schemes, we'll add uh, components. Components. We add these one is an empty security scheme where we don't need to add any security mechanism. The next is a better auth. Um, better auth allows us to do an authorization for using the authorization header and using the better authentication mechanism, and the cookie auth, where we use cookies for session cookies as an authentication mechanism. So just to show you what a better authentication means, we check it here. Um, so this is like the standard for the Internet Engineering Task Force. If we check it on better authentication, what it does is it checks the authorization header that has a better first word and the token itself. So we just put the token and have it check its authentication using the better. So now that we have that better and cookie auth in the components, we want to add security scheme. So let's check how we will do that on Open API. Oops, not this one. Open API 3.1. We go back to our schema, components. Yeah, components object and security scheme. The security scheme object is this one, and we want to add this. So for this one, what we want to add is the definition of the cookie auth and the bearer auth. So let's add them. So for cookie auth, it's a type of an API key which is in the cookie, and the name is session token. So we are able to put it on session token. For bearer, it's a type of an HTTP authentication mechanism. This we add the description for this one: simple bearer auth using JWT, which we'll be using later on. The scheme is the bearer authentication, and the bearer format is, of course, JWT or JSON Web Token. Now that is done, we have already added the design. Now, on logout, we can add security here and say that we are expecting the cookie auth and bearer auth method that we have discussed. While on login, we want to have security that is open to all, meaning you don't need to have an authentication mechanism for that one. Now, let's add the functionality for login, as we can see it here, login. So we'll add a login.js. Now, how do we do a login.js? Let me check my notes. For login, what we'll need to do is import bcrypt from bcrypt. Actually, we can copy the the create user for this one, because we are getting the username and password. And then import bcrypt from bcrypt. Now, instead of creating a user, what we'll need to do is await user find one username and then execute the query. Now we get the user. If await bcrypt, so how do we compare the password? We use the bcrypt compare. The password that we have sent and the user that password, if it is not equal, this is what um we want to say, we return reply forbidden. That means uh we are not allowed to to go through. Now, instead of returning the user, we just return success true and a token. Now, the problem is, where's the token? How do we create a token out of this one? So, for this one, what we want to use is the, the Fastify JWT part. So, we'll add some things on our app to improve our JWT, have the ability to create JWT. So let's install npm save fastify JWT. We also want to save it on our session cookie, so we have to add fastify cookie and fastify session. Okay, so once that we are done with that, we go to our app.js and then import all of those things. Import JWT from Fastify JWT. Import cookie from Fastify cookie. And import session from Fastify session. Okay. Given that, we'll add it after sensible. So app dot register JWT, and then we add a secret. Uh, Now we want to use private file and public file. So public file or public key. We'll do this for now. The signing is the algorithm that we will be using to sign our date. Our setup is, or sign our token is RS256. We want to have an audience. That means the audience for our cookies or JWT. So we'll just add audience and issuer for now. We can change it later. The audience, the issuer, which is this one, and we want to have an expiration date in our token, which is 1 hour. Then to verify, we need to have it on our audience and issuer. There we go. Now we then register cookie so that it is going to be used. Then for our session, cookie name session token, that is the part that we have put on our um the name of the cookie where we will check the token, the session token, and then the secret will be coming from a file as well, and then the cookie is secure, which is false, and HTTP only, which is true. Those are we'll check why we need to do that. But the max age again is 1 hour 60 seconds times 60 minutes. Okay, so once that is done, we'll check the Fastify session. Why we need to have secure false and HTTP only. So for Fastify session, secure, the Boolean value of the secure attribute, set this option to false when communicating over an unencrypted HTTP connection. Value can be set to auto. In this case, the secure attribute will be set to false for HTTP, and in case HTTPS for true. So we can set it on to auto. So let's set it on to auto. The other thing is HTTP only. That means it's only going to be shown over HTTP and not on your JavaScript. You cannot get the cookie value on to the JavaScript. Now, how do we create the files for the private and public? I've already created. No, I haven't created it actually. So we'll create a folder for this one, cert. And then we'll create let's say private key. So private key, we create a private key and a public key. There you go. We have a private key and a public key. Now let's add cert as one of the things that shouldn't be part of your Git repository. Now, how do we do that? How do we create a key? We can go to this one, mkjwk. So JSON web key generator. So key size is 2048. It's for signature, as we have seen in our app. We are for signature or signing, and it's RS256. So we should use RS256, this one, and the key is SHA256. We need to show the X.509 certificates and generate. You can see there's the private key, so we copy this to our keyboard and paste it here. Oh, not this one, sorry. This should be this one. So we'll just copy it as is. And for the public, oops, sorry. For the public, we copy this one. So now that we have copied it, we just need to import read file sync from fs to be able to read the file, and then read file sync cert public private key, and then UTF-8. That means we are reading it on a UTF-8 encoding, and this is public. We also going to use it as a secret for our session. Let's see. Okay, so that is done. Now, what we want to do is create a constructor here so that we can pass our app this.app equals app. So that means if we are going to have it, so there we have passed the app here so that we can use the app.jwt. So here and out equals to this.app.jwt.sign username. So we just want to sign the username so that we can use it later. Now that we have the token, it will return a token, but we also want to put it on our cookie. So request that session token is equals to token. Now, if we try it out, let's try logging in. Of course, execute. There's an internal error. Okay, so we haven't added the login yet. Log in from auth login.js. I think we haven't changed. Yeah, we haven't changed this one out. So now that we have login, we just equal it here that it can be used. Okay, error. So now there's internal error as well. It says here cannot read properties of null, reading password. So we have if user, if there is no user, we should return reply not found. So let's test it out. So there's no user with the string. If we use TJ Montserrat here, it's forbidden because the password is incorrect. And if we use testing 123 here, we get the token. So that means we are properly logged in. Now, how do we make sure that we are able to log out? So what we need to do is log out the JS. And then we just copy this one and this one. Oops. Now for this one, we get the token from the request. Well, actually, what we can do is request that destroy session, and then from here on out, after the session has been destroyed. So this is when we are destroying the session cookie. Yeah. So once we destroy the session cookie, we are able to log out entirely. So log out using the session cookie part. So log out, I mean cookie ayaw niya, log out from auth, log out .js. There you go. So there's the logout. Now, how do we know if the user is logged in? We will have to have the definition now for our security schemas. So if we check our security schemas, we have the cookie auth and bearer auth. For this one, we'll need to create a security class. So what's in it for our security class? Export class security, um, and then we have to have a constructor to pass the app because we will be using it later. So this app is equals to app. Uh-huh. And then we have the cookie auth. So for the cookie auth, we want to have this. So cookie auth. Oops, sorry. And then we want to have for something for the better auth. Now the thing is, I would be creating something that is going to be used by both because the authentication for this one is actually just the same. So we'll create a app, an auth, uh, or a sync function auth, which has the request, reply, and then the app because we need the app part. So for this one, we check both for the head for the request. We check both the request, the session and the headers. We check the authorization header, and for the session, we put it on session token. Actually, the reason is we can just use token here. Oh, well, token because on our login we have put it on the token. So we just want to put it here, and we want to get model from utils mongodb index.js. There you go. Model. Then we get the user model from models. We get the authorization token, or because it will be changed. Now, if there is no authorization, there is no authorization header, and there is also no session token coming from the session, we will say that um, it's unauthorized. So we just say reply unauthorized. Now, if there is an authorization, we get the bearer. We split the bearer as so. I'll put the comment here so that expecting to have the authorization to be bearer token. So that means if we split it, we create this the bearer, which is we use as the splitter, and then token. Then we just get the second element of that array. So that's the second element of that array. And then we now use we put it on the token if it's an authorization token or a session token. That means if authorization token um is null, we get the session token and we put it on the token variable. Now we do a um try catch error, and then we just console this. Okay, so what we want to do is to verify the token using our JWT token verifier. And then after we have verified it, we decode it to get the username. Because remember, we have put in the username in our token. So once we get the username, we try to find the user from the database, and as I check if there's we check if there's really a user using that username. If not, we say that there's no user, and then save the session. Or I mean, for this current session, we save the user as well as the token on the request. Now, if there's an error, let's say if there's an error on our verification, it will show up either a JWT expired. So that means if the JSON Web token is expired, um, we uh, we just say that you are unauthorized because you are expired. Otherwise, we return an unauthorized, or yeah, return an unauthorized um, reply. Given that, we add it on our app. We add it on our app. Import security from um, security index.js, and then const security handle new security app. Let's see if I'm doing it correctly. Handlers, sorry, handlers. There you go. Security handlers. And then just add it on the Open API option. Now that is done. Let's see. If we try to log out, it will say that we are unauthorized because we are not logged in. If we try to log in here, we will see that we get the token, but we don't need the token because our cookies has already been set. If we execute it here, it will say success true because we have already we have the cookie. We got it from we got it from here. We got the cookie, and then if we try to log out again, it's unauthorized because there is no session cookie. But if we use this copy, and then we do a better this string, faces the string authorized, try to log out again. Oops, we are getting the unauthorized. Oh yeah, we don't need to have the bearer because it's automatically being put as the bearer. So we just need to put the token. If we execute it, we always get the success true because um we are always logged in. So the problem is, even if we have logged out, as long as we have that token here, it will always say that we are logged in. So that means that's a security bug. So we will add a way for us to check for um, discarded token. So for us to create discarded tokens, we go for saving them on our database. So let's copy this thing. um, discarded token, and then we just want the username and the token. And we don't need a unique username because there would be instances where there would be several times you would log out in a session, or yeah, on a given lifetime of the system. And um we want to just discard them, so we don't need a pre-save as well as a update, and we want to put it on discarded token. uh there we go. We rename this as singular because for for um, so models that discarded token is equals to create discarded token mongoose. So it's not showing up here, so create discarded token model from models discarded token js. Okay, now that we have that, we will add it on our security or logout first. We will add it on our logout first. So on our logout, um, we just import the models. We try to get the token and user from the request, and then get the discarded token from the models, and then get the username from the user, and then new discarded token username token. So we just save it, then await data save. So now we have saved the discarded token in our logout. And here in the security, um, in the security, once we got that token, I mean the username from that token, we just get again the discarded token model. Um, const discarded is equals to await discarded token find one. We find the username and token that is associated for that token. See if it's in the database. If it is discarded, uh, or we found one instance, the response should be unauthorized and auth discarded, not response but reply. So let's check it out again. If we execute this one, we success through, and if we execute it again, we are now having a message of auth discarded because we have discarded the token. Okay, so given that, what next to do? Before that, we just add git add all git commit m pip add login logout and security git push. So we have functionality for login, checking for authorization, functionality for logout, and the discarded model. Now, we want to add a username when creating a blog. So how do we do that? We don't want to, of course, um, need to add a username from the body. We need to get it from the current request. So for the current request, what we will do is we get, of course, the user. Let me check my notes. We want to check. Yeah, we get the user and then get the username from the user. So how do we know that there's a user on the request? Again, going back on our security feature, we have saved the user once we got the token from our request. So we get the token, get the username from that token, find the user data from that token, and just return, put the user on this part. So once we got the username, we just save it as part of the username. And once that is done, um, we need to add we need to update our blog data to be able to show also the username. Type string, and everything else will follow. So yeah, that's my wife who just sneezed. So let's try it out again. New title with username, and then new text with username. And if we execute this, oops, there's an internal error. We check. Because there's no user. Yeah. The reason is we forgot to put the ability to check the security for this one. So that means we cannot um we should not be able to create a we should not be able to create a log without logging in. So as you can see, I'm unauthorized. So let's log in first. Oops, not this one. We log in. Try out TJ Montserrat. Testing 1, 2, 3. Execute. So that's a token. We don't need to save the token as of the moment because we are already using the cookie authentication because we are using a browser. So we execute this one and we get, oh, we didn't get the create date, the username. So let's see if we have saved it on our database. Okay, so there's no username yet. Create log. Because we haven't updated our model to also have the username. So type string required true. So given this, okay, given this, we are done. We should be able to execute. Okay, it's unauthorized, so we need to log in because our server has restarted. So log in, execute, and we get the username, as you can see here, which is nice because that is what we want to do. If we get all blogs, try out, execute, we get the only one that has the username because everything else is we did it before. So now let's add the security for the other um, paths. So we have post. We don't need forget because we want readers to read our data, but we need to have it on um, delete. We don't want anyone to just delete, um, and as well as put. So let's do this. Okay. So let's also add security for this one, but like instead of the bearer auth and cookie auth, what we just what we need to put is just an empty security, because we want everyone to be able to um use them. So there's the security here for the get, and this one, and for login we have already put it here. For logout we have already put it here. Okay, so given that, um what if we want to make sure that for editing and deleting, we just delete only the blogs that um, we own? So for that one, we just get the user again from our request. Const username is equals to user, and then just username. We also add it on our search as well as update. User const username equals to user, and then username. Now let's see if we can edit first our blog. So need to copy this, log in first here. Now that we have logged in, we update the data. So string1 execute. We should be able to update it here. We should also return it as a blog, so that this should return now unauthorized, because I'm not authorized to do it. So log in, update, so that it will show up the whole blog itself. Oops, that's the old blog. Okay, so we should huh, we should fonts new blog equals to await. Let's check first. Find one and update. We just want to find one and update. Add new true. We want to add new true. So there you go. Um, Again, this will return unauthorized, so we need to log in, string 3, and it should show string 3. Now, let's create a new user. Um, let's create a new user. Try it out. Let's say TJ Montserrat 1, new password. Yay. And then log in as TJ Montserrat 1. New password. Execute. So we have logged in as a different user. Let's see if we can update this as well. It says not found because we are searching for that ID with that username. And because it's not found, it means that it will not be updated. as well as if we try to delete it, try to delete it, although it will return success true because, yeah, can we check if we have already deleted that one? Uh, let's see. Nope, it's not deleted because it's still here. So let's try to find, let's see if we can sort of um, try to delete it again. Of course, it's unauthorized, so let's execute the login for the new user. It's still unauthorized. Oh, something went wrong. What? Okay. Execute. What went wrong? Oh, it's a new user. Sorry. We're supposed to be logging in here. Sorry. um, success true. We check deleted count. So we can check blog dot deleted count is equals to 0, then return reply. We should have a reply here. Reply not found. So let's log in again. Execute this one. It says not found. But if we log in as the other user, testing 123, execute, and we execute here. It says success true. And if we check the database again, apply, we will not be able to see it anymore. So, okay, yep, we have done it. So let's just add all git commit git add security. So there you have it. Um, this is in our repository now. If you want to check it out, you can closely monitor how I did it. And yeah, see you next time, guys. Bye.